You're listening to All in a Day here on CBC Radio 191.5 in Ottawa. It is 4:45. I'm Alan Nael. Well, the first time that Abid Jan organized a meeting in Banff Ledbury, this was the scene. Abid was standing in a room with community members. When the police constables he invited finally arrived, the community members started moving into another room one by one, until Abid was left alone in the middle, just praying that the two sides would at least say hello to each other. That was in 2005. Now, his model for turning at-risk neighborhoods into healthy and safe communities has spread across the city, and Cimre Prevention Ottawa recognized Abid Jan for his work this week. The fourth time in 3 years that he's been recognized for his work, and they named him their 2009 Community Safety Leader. And Abid Jan's in the studio. Hello there.
Thank you very much, Etienne. How are you?
I'm fine, and congratulations again.
Thanks a lot for that, too.
It sounds like, take me back to that scene I was just describing. It sounds like you were in a very difficult situation. Why had you called that meeting in the first place?
Yeah, you missed one thing. I was really sweating at that time.
I didn't describe the dripping brow at that
exactly.
point. Right.
And that was not the first time that I was sweating because this community work is challenging. I've been engaged in this community work for the past, several years. But it was really, really hard in Ottawa. And when I started working in 2004, so that was when the challenges began. And the meeting that you just described, we had made lots of progress by that time. But anyway, we went through all those challenges, and today we are at a good point. But anyway, getting to your question, like in 2004, I was given a project to train about 20 community leaders, and I had been given 1 year to do that, right? But given my background with UNDP and whatever, right? So we used to train about 30 to 40 community leaders a week, and when I was given this job of training 20 leaders a year, so I thought that I'll do it in a month, and I'll just sleep for the rest of 11 months. But that's what didn't happen.
No?
It took me, the first challenge, right? It took me about 3 months to recruit 14 community leaders. I was extremely disappointed, but then my colleagues were really excited about it.
Why was it so hard, do you think, to recruit those community leaders?
That was the challenge, right? And that question led me into the research mode of what is actually happening. And then when I explored the situation at the community level and the stories that I heard, and the situation at the community level was really, really terrible, right? Like a community member would come out in the meeting and she would say that I'm from Rwanda, and the situation in Rwanda was not as challenging for me. I was not as scared in Rwanda as I'm here in Canada, right?
Wow.
Or there was another community member, she said that, can you come to my kitchen for a minute? And I'm thinking she's going to give me food or something. Mm-hmm. She took me to the kitchen and she said, look outside this window. And when I looked outside the window, there were like bushes and trees and everything, right? So she was saying that the older youth, they bring younger youth and they force them to do drugs and they beat them over there. And the younger ones are so scared that they won't be able to go back to their parents and tell them that what's actually happening, right? So those sorts of things. So not only spreading, but to tell you the truth, when I went back like that night and I looked at my kids, right? At that time I had 3, now I have 6. But anyway, so when I looked at my kids and I was thinking that what if they live in such kind of a situation and older youth force them to do drugs and they're unable to tell me, right? So I was literally, for the first time, I was crying, right? And then like explore the situation further. So there were, we were as social service agencies, we were offering several incentives and programs and activities. And we have in those low-income neighborhoods, we have community houses supported by the City of Ottawa, and accommodation provided by the Ottawa Community Housing, right? But then people won't come out to those community houses, right? They would be scared. And if we have those... those community houses have boards, right? So people would be resigning from the board, their own children would be telling them, you're going to the community house and you're snitching on us, right? Oh, so that was the kind of situation.
So then on top of that, you've got this, again, back in this room, you've got the people who've finally signed up to be community leaders. Mm-hmm. You've made the progress of getting people in there. You've got the police showing up. How did you go about melding those two worlds together?
Yeah, so as I told you, right, I went into this research mode, and studied several successful community development initiatives from across the world, particularly U.S., U.K., and New Zealand, right? Here in Canada as well. So we just pulled all those the elements which actually make the difference. So we didn't reinvent the wheel. So what we did was we brought all the service providers and all those who were providing services to those neighborhoods, right? We brought them around the table. We started communicating with the community members to restore their trust. So going back to the meeting that you're describing, right, that was the first step of the process, establishing that steering committee at the community level, and then establishing that trust relationship with the residents. So initially, like the police officers were saying that we are not welcomed in this neighborhood, and the community members were saying that we don't want the police officers the way they come to these neighborhoods. Like they won't come. But when they come, they would be coming in 12 cruisers for nothing, right? Things like those. So there was a situation when there was the first ever meeting when we brought the police officers to a meeting to just break the ice. And but anyway, that was the beginning, right?
And it seems, I mean, it's amazing that this project has expanded citywide. Mm-hmm. It has a new name now, Community Development Framework. What does that look like now?
Oh, you know what? Like, we call it Community Development Framework, right? So it's quite broad. Like when we were working on it in Southeast Ottawa, there was just the service providers and local level steering table working with the community, engaging them in a community engagement process and developing community action plans, whatever. So now under CDF, what we have is complete system level support to that kind of community engagement process at the grassroots level. So now we have 14 community health and resource centers in Ottawa. Presently, we have engaged 4 of them in applying the same kind of process at the community level in Carlington, Bayshore, Somerset West, and Overbrook Forbes. So those 4 community health and resource centers are directly working on it. But then we have, under this Crime Prevention Ottawa, we are working in Vanier and Lower Town as well. So anyway, the idea is that those community health and resource centers, the 14 community health and resource centers, they would be playing the key the lead role in coordinating all the services and the service providers and working with the community. And then at the system level, we have a knowledge transfer table, we have a municipal service table, and a resource table where all the funders are sitting, right? So we are providing that system level support to that kind of community engagement process at the community level.
And now, as the guy who's been organizing all this and getting it all going, I'm told that it's not uncommon for you to be starting your morning at 3:30 a.m. What keeps you going?
Oh, actually, there's so much to do. I think the key to the success of our work at the community level actually lies in commitment and dedication. If you're working from 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 kind of a thing, right, then actually there's a lot to cover, and we have to change our ways to reach out to these neighborhoods and transform these neighborhoods because they really need support.
That means getting up at 3:30?
Yeah.
Listen, congratulations again,
thank you very much.
Abid Jan. Thank you for coming in today.
No problem at all.
Abid Jan is the coordinator of the Community Development Framework, and Crime Prevention Ottawa named him their 2009 Community Safety Leader.